Hi, everyone. This is Megan.
And this is Steven.
And this is the Synchrony podcast, where we talk about transforming apostolic dating culture and ending loneliness in the church. Babe, you're a real champion for today.
You gotta stop complimenting me at the beginning of the episodes.
Why?
I feel like it's starting to become a thing.
I'm allowed to compliment you. You single-handedly basically did all of the parenting today so I could do like 8 hours of synchrony work.
Yeah.
It's like a full...
It's like a normal work day.
Yeah, I know, but like you had a whole week of other work days
Yeah,
too.
that's
I guess
true.
not, because we had some holidays thrown in there, but
No, but
it was like,
actually the holidays are just more difficult.
it made it weird because we were traveling and then we came back and then we still had a couple days off.
Yeah, at least during work days, they're at school for a little bit.
Yeah.
So it gives me some time to be productive. But I'm
Yeah.
like, productivity's just been thrown out the window this break.
Yeah. Oh, well, not really. I mean, we packed this week full. Like we reset the kids' room entirely.
Yeah.
You had to build a bunk bed.
Yeah.
I'm not complimenting him that much. It's not like he built it from scratch. It's not like he went out and hewed the logs and then made
Chopped
it.
down my pine tree in the backyard.
Yeah.
Been letting the lumber dry for a while.
Yeah. He did use his spiritual gift of Facebook Marketplace to go find a great deal on a bunk bed.
$50 for a bunk bed.
It is safe. So anyway, we did that. We did the Great Toy Purge, which was a whole thing.
2/3 of their toys.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't actually like calculate.
I
how
was
much.
keeping track, and I'm ecstatic.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah. They still have plenty of toys. My children are
2/3
safe.
of their old toys. They had new toys coming in.
Right,
from
for Christmas.
But
My children are safe and they still have toys to play with. Nobody call anybody.
they're fine.
So anyway, that was busy, and then I went back to work, and then we've like had synchrony stuff coming out of our ears this week, which is like the best.
Yeah, it's a great problem to have.
Yeah, 100%. We had 5 dates this week.
I know.
5 dates, 9 consultations, a few other like meetings. We did a podcast interview. It's been busy.
Super busy, but
Yeah.
we're here.
We're here. So this is our post New Year's episode.
Yep.
Our last episode went up just before New Year's Day. So we're going to be doing a little bit of a stats recap today.
That's right.
People, apparently, maybe it's just the people that we know who talk to us about this. People tell us that they enjoy the stats episodes.
I mean, they usually do pretty well numbers-wise. So, yeah.
Like in terms of viewership. This is amazing because I just assumed that I was the biggest nerd on earth and that nobody else would care. But people like their numbers. So we have numbers. We're going to show some graphs. We're even going to show a map.
What?
Yeah, so some new flavors of statistics today.
That's right.
Yeah, so it's going to be fun.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Before we do that, though, really quick shout out to the great people over at Cafe 117. We love them. Cafe 117 is an apostolic-owned coffee company. They sell premium quality single origin coffees and fantastic blends, including the one that we're drinking right now, which is called the 6 Degrees Blend, and it'll wake you up.
Yes, it will.
Which is why we are... Say that again.
Yes, it will.
It'll wake you up. Incoherent babble. The coffee works. We just haven't had enough of it yet. But it's great. And
or the opposite.
Where it works too well.
Yeah.
And the great thing about Cafe 117, besides the fact that they make amazing coffee, is that they also support a variety of apostolic aid organizations with their proceeds. So a big portion of their proceeds goes to places like Compassion Services International and lots of other service-based organizations that are out doing amazing work in the world. So we love them, and you can get a discount on their coffee using the code in the description. So go get you some. Bless yourself.
That's right. Help get your new year started right.
Right.
Caffeine addiction.
If your decision was a resolve to abstain from caffeine,
let us help you break it already.
You do what you need to do. I don't know why you would choose to do that, but if that's you, that's great. You do you. Our dog is being the most right now.
Yeah.
She's got you like in a pretzel.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah. I'm sure she'll.
If you hear dog snores.
Yeah. I think she's just becoming a fixture in our podcast.
Our next couch that we get, it needs to be a bigger couch.
Yeah, or we need to have like a designated olive ottoman.
That's right.
But okay, are you ready for some numbers?
Oh, I'm so ready.
You got your nerd glasses on?
All day, every day.
Great. Um, okay, so a couple of sort of caveats about the data that we're going to share. I ran the numbers for all of the survey data that we've collected through Synchrony so far. Just as a reminder, if you haven't been here for very long, we started collecting survey data from singles in July of 2023,
Mm-hmm.
all through 2024, and now we're in 2025. So these are surveys that were drawn not just from the folks that have purchased consultations and come in since last March,
Yeah.
but also the people that were part of our beta testing group who were applying and submitting their information to be part of Synchrony before that. So we did a stats recap episode right after we started the podcast. I think we recorded it in like March, maybe. You can go back and look. I think it was like episode 3 or 4 or something. It was 4. I think it was pretty early on. Where we kind of did a data dive on the 270 something people that we had surveys on at that point. So this is now going to include all of that data plus the data that we've gathered since then. And the reason why we're stacking them together is because, like we talked about on a recent episode, the bigger the sample size, the better it is an indicator of trend.
Yeah.
Right. Cool. So guess how many people we had in this survey pool?
This is not scripted.
Nope, it's an honest to goodness guess.
450?
Close. We had 427.
Okay.
427 survey responses.
Nice.
So significantly more than we had in March.
Yeah.
Less than a year ago.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. Yeah. And so I ran numbers on like a bunch of different things, and we could talk about, you know, a wide variety of sort of like pieces of data. But I have 3, I guess, like sort of key insights that I want to bring up about this data this time.
Okay.
Cool.
Starting with what?
Well, here, I'll let you pick. Okay. We can talk geography, we can talk age and gender, or we can talk race and ethnicity. Where do you want to start?
Let's start with geography.
Geography?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is kind of a new one. So
I'm big on the visuals.
yeah. Yeah. I'll try to put this up on the screen while we're talking. So hopefully you'll be able to see this. And I'll drop a link if I can. I'll drop a link to the actual map so you can go interact with it if you want. So we started collecting zip codes from our survey respondents pretty early on. I'm going to caveat and say we don't have a zip code for everybody.
Yeah.
But at least I think probably around 400 of them, maybe a little bit more, provided us with zip codes for the folks that are living in the U.S. And a couple apparently that there's one zip code in Mexico that weirdly looks surprisingly like a zip code from Florida. And I thought it was a mistake, but no, it turns out we had a survey respondent in Mexico.
Yeah.
And
or a typo. I'm just kidding.
And apparently their zip codes look very similar to those in Florida. Good to know. So anyway, Google Map has this feature where you can create a custom map and then upload a list of locations and it'll map it for you. So I was able to create a custom Google map with pins that show the location of all of our survey respondents based on their zip code.
Not by their physical address, just by zip code.
Yeah, I don't have addresses for all those people. I only have addresses if you've asked me to ship you a sync pin.
Yeah.
Which if you haven't, you should do. We finally got out another batch of them. So
that's right.
We're ready to send some more.
We are caught up and they are in the mail on the way to you if you've been waiting for like a month.
Thank you. Sorry. Merry Christmas, belatedly. So the map has pins for each person's zip code location, and they're color coded, male versus female.
Okay.
Okay. We'll get into the gender breakdown later, but we have the map up on a screen over there. So just taking a look at that, what do you notice?
Very clumped to like the east side of America.
Yeah, so the heaviest concentrations of pens, and I would say like there's a pretty good smattering,
Yeah,
right? Um, I didn't actually do a state count this time of how many states we're in, but the last time we did this, we were in like 40 something
40
states.
something. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can't even see there's a pin in Hawaii, but it's too far
Oh,
out from the map. Um, so there is a pretty heavy concentration, I would say, mostly in the southeast, and also a nice cluster up in the Midwest headed toward the Great Lakes,
yeah.
right? This is not that surprising in that Florida was one of our key states when we started.
Yep.
A lot of our folks that know us came in from Florida. We have heavy concentrations in Mississippi, Louisiana, Missouri. None of that should be surprising because those things are like apostolic central
Yeah.
states.
I mean, what's cool though is we have probably 4/5. I would have
Hmm.
to give a random ratio of the people that we have are probably on the east side of America. The 1/5 is smattered across the rest of the west side.
Yeah. And weirdly, so this I thought was really interesting. Do you see Texas? How
Yeah,
heavily concentrated we are in East Texas,
East Texas.
but
Yeah,
West Texas is like, no pun intended, like left out to dry a little bit. Like we
yeah,
have very few pins in West Texas, which is really fascinating to me. And we are concentrated around a couple of big cities in East Texas. So,
yeah,
take that with a grain of salt. But that was really interesting. And then we have a lot of people up in the Midwest in Indiana, also some in Michigan and Illinois. So they're kind of forming like a nice little cluster up there.
yeah.
But really, everything, I would say east of, well, Colorado River's a little too far over, but really everything, like I would say, the midway through Texas, everything east of San Antonio
Yeah.
is pretty heavily concentrated and pretty evenly distributed. Um, we don't have a ton of folks in the far northeast. We do have some folks in New England, mostly in New York, Delaware, a couple in New Jersey, and a handful in Maine. Um, we also have a couple of folks that are in Canada that aren't depicted on here because their
Well,
zip
on this
codes.
current iteration, we're gonna try to get that fixed
Yeah,
before.
I'll try to go manually
But
add
for
them
some
in.
reason, the addresses weren't playing well with the Google Maps.
Yeah, I think I just need to format the zip codes differently.
We also have a couple that are like Australia and stuff like that. So
Hmm.
we're not sure if they're going to be on there either. But
Well, I mean, they're not on this map currently, but
yeah,
yeah. So really interesting, sort of the concentration, and like this isn't terribly surprising because I think if you were to look at population concentrations in the U.S., it would map fairly closely to this.
yeah,
We also do have a pretty good cluster in California.
yeah. All throughout
Um,
California, though, which is pretty cool.
yeah, which is nice. Like we've really got folks represented across the state, which is cool. And we have a decent, in terms of just like population density, a decent number of people across some of our less populated states.
Yeah,
So, Colorado, Utah, Wyoming, Montana,
Nevada's
um,
a little left out, but
Nevada's a little left out. Idaho's a little bit left out, but they're all, they're represented with Synchrony surveys, which is really cool to see.
man, we got to get some Dakotas in there.
Yeah, the Dakotas are hurting. Like we don't have many folks in
I
North
mean,
and
they're
South
also hurting for
Dakota.
people too. I feel like
Yeah, I really like this is a
I know a
weird.
lot of beekeepers are up there, but
Yeah,
not
I
about
really want to go
Pentecostals.
visit the
Oh,
Dakotas.
they're beautiful. Lots of
Yeah,
corn
it's
and soybean.
corn, soybeans, woohoo. But yeah, I've heard they're really beautiful states to be in. Anyway,
Yeah.
so if you know folks in the Dakotas or Idaho, we would love Nevada. We'd love to put them on the map.
Is that Oregon too?
Oregon, we have a couple.
Do we? Okay.
Yeah, we have a couple in the Portland area. Um, but yeah, so
Man, Kansas is surprisingly empty too.
yeah, not a ton in Kansas. Not a ton. Couple I think in the Topeka area. Um, yeah, we've got some work to do in the western US. But I think that's also reflective of the density of our churches out there.
Yeah.
We have uh particularly I don't know much about the ALJC and WPF concentrations in those states, but with the UPCI, we certainly have lighter concentrations out there than we do in some of these other
Yeah.
states. So you can go check out this map, zoom around and see, how many folks are in your area. And like I said, it is color coded based on gender. So the
Yeah.
purple pins are ladies, the blue pins are gentlemen. And once again, this does not reflect the number of people that I'm currently matching in our pipeline,
Yeah.
right? This is anyone who's ever submitted a survey, including folks who submitted a survey but never booked their consultation. We had
Yeah.
quite a few of those in our beta testing group
Yeah.
that gave us survey data but never really followed through with the actual meeting part. This also is not reflective of folks that have come through the pipeline and who have matched and moved
Yeah.
out. Some of those folks are in this data set is what I mean, like folks that are no longer eligible because
Yeah.
they have someone now.
Yep.
Oh my goodness. Hold on. I have to tell a really great story really quick.
All right.
Pause on the map. You and I talked about this a little bit. Did you see the message that came through our Instagram from the couple?
We get a lot of those.
Specifically from the couple that met on our Instagram.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That was awesome.
The story is so cool. If you guys are listening, congratulations. We got an engagement announcement from a couple that we did not match, but who met on the Synchrony Instagram page. And it was really funny because the guy in this couple had actually booked a consultation with us. He had paid and everything. He had paid for a consultation, but never booked his actual meeting.
Yeah.
And I found that in our data and reached out to him, like, hey, what happened? I'd love to connect with you. And he got back to me a while later and was basically like, I'm so sorry. I don't actually need your help right now. I've met someone on your Instagram. So they both were following us and they noticed each other in engagement with our, in the likes and engagement with our posts. And I don't know who reached out to who first, but they connected and started dating months ago.
Yeah.
And we heard from both of them since. We were super excited for them. They just got engaged.
I know. When I saw that photo, I was like, what in the world?
Yeah, it's so cool. Like, I consider that to still be a huge success
Oh, yeah.
story.
I mean, because it's hitting all the same notes that we're trying to talk about.
Yeah,
right?
100%.
It's finding people with similar values, right? And if you're following the same page and there's something that you're actively engaged in, then you probably are in somewhat of agreement to what you're following, right?
Yeah, and they were doing things like listening to the podcast and talking about their values and like really taking some of the resources that we were using and making them part of their early dating relationship.
Yeah.
So this is such a goal of ours, is that we want anyone who touches the project to have a better dating experience.
That's right.
So big congratulations.
Congratulations, y'all.
To you guys. We're super happy for you. Okay, sorry. That was it. Do you have any questions about the map or questions that you think people will have?
Yeah. If you are currently in the Synchrony pipeline and you do not see your dot or blip on your state, please don't be offended. The Google Maps doesn't, for some reason, pick up every single one.
Yeah, I think it picked up. I mean, I think it's pretty accurate as long as I had the correctly formatted.
That's what I'm saying.
Zip
Like
code.
this is our first time doing this, so there might be glitches. So
Yeah, some people I had to go in and clean up some stuff, and I did not go point by point and verify to make sure.
Absolutely not.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Yeah,
we're busy. But anyway, so go check that out. I think it's just a fun interactive way to see how people are showing up in the pipeline.
Yeah, I'm also excited to see this grow.
Yeah,
I would like to take screenshots of this or something and then just kind of do side by side.
Well, we can make as many custom maps as we want. So this is the 2024 one.
Cool. Okay.
And so we'll make another one next year and just kind of see how it evolves. Awesome.
Sounds good.
Cool. Okay, so our dog is now twitching.
Twitching and snoring really loud.
I read an article somewhere that dogs aren't capable of having narrative dreams, and I frankly
I don't believe it.
I choose to not believe
when they
that.
are running in their sleep. I am choosing to think that they are running for a ball or something.
A ball. I want to believe that they're having cute doggy dreams and exciting fun things.
Or it looks like they're swimming in a pond.
Yeah, I want them to be having great dreams.
Not seizures.
And not nightmares. They're the article was like, it's just like sort of muscle movement that dogs do because they're, whatchamacallit, like
Sleeping
pursuit carnivores or whatever. And I'm like, okay, pursuit carnivore, whatever. I just want them to be cute and
cute puppy dreams.
Cute puppies. Anyway, do you want to talk about age and gender next or race next?
Let's do race.
Okay. This is good because we didn't spend a ton of time on this last time we talked about demographics.
Yeah.
So I took all of our surveys, and these are people have a choice to put both their race and their ethnic or cultural identity. I specifically looked at the race column,
Okay.
and if someone put things like Irish or Italian, I called them white. So there are some places where like I'm adjusting labels based on what someone's telling me.
Yeah, sure.
So just letting you know, the categories that I sorted people into in terms of what they gave us or that they sorted themselves into were Asian, Black, Latino, Middle Eastern, multiracial, meaning having more than one racial identity, Native American, white, and then we also had a bunch of like undisclosed or other much smaller categories that are kind of lumped together. Okay. So I'm going to admit that this set of demographics gave me a little bit of a shock when I first saw it, and I got concerned. I'm less concerned now, but I was concerned at the beginning. Do you have a sense of why I might have been concerned?
Was it heavily weighted in one direction?
Yeah. Our respondents have been very white.
Yeah.
So to look at the breakdown, I'm going to scroll over. We made a pretty graph of this that I'll put up. Well, I don't know if it's pretty. It's a graph. It's a circle.
There's lots of colors.
It's a pie chart. I don't love the colors on this, actually. I might change it. Our respondents are 73.6% white.
Yep.
Which is significantly white. So that is the largest demographic by far. The next largest demographic group would be Black respondents, coming in at 12.1%.
Okay.
Then we have Asian respondents. I included, technically then the other and undisclosed category comes in at 4%, but I'm kind of not counting that as like, it's a category, but it's also a smattering of lots of other categories and things I don't know. The category of folks who are Asian, I also included Southeast Asian in that as well. 1.9%. Multiracial folks are, sorry, I missed one. The Latino category, 4.9%. So it technically goes white, Black, Latino, Asian, multiracial, and Native American both came in at 1.6% of the respondent population. And then 0.2% Middle Eastern, which was one response, I think. So it is heavily weighted toward Caucasian Americans for the most part.
It's funny. When you first said that, it was a little shocking.
Yeah.
But then when you compared it to the national average.
Right. So then I was like a little bit panicky because I'm like, oh my goodness, like, and I don't know that we have data about the relative demographics of apostolics, right?
I don't think apostolics in general. I'm sure individual organizations might have some relative census, but like, again, we're doing multi-organizational services, so it's kind of hard to compare.
One thing I didn't look up though, hold on. Give me a second. I'm gonna do some live research. 1 second.
Uh-oh.
Okay. So we've referenced this study before, but the Pew Research Center did a religious landscape study, and they have a basically like a link to a breakdown of racial and ethnic composition among Pentecostals in the evangelical tradition.
Okay.
So this would include all Pentecostals. It would include Assemblies of God. It would include anyone that speaks in tongues and could roughly be categorized as a Pentecostal.
Also, like Catholic Pentecostal, right?
I don't know that they would include charismatic Pentecostals in this. They might. I think it depends on if that person self-identified. Because remember, this is coming from census data. So they're going and asking them. I don't know that a charismatic Catholic would say, I'm Pentecostal. I think they'd say, I'm Catholic. Because that's a very key part of the charismatic Catholic identity is they still believe very much that they're Catholic.
Okay.
But I think this would include much more than just oneness apostolic Pentecostals. So this is a little confusing because they haven't broken down by demographic. Um, but it looks like, and this probably isn't super surprising, like it gets more diverse as people get younger. So in the 65 plus category, 75% of evangelical Pentecostals are white. According to this, 66% in the 50s to mid 60s, 49% in the 30s to late 40s, and 50% in the 18 to 29 age bracket. So what we're talking about by saying like 70 something percent of our population, which spans all of those age brackets,
Yeah.
is white, is not super duper shocking.
Now, do that compared to the like U.S.
Yeah.
National average,
So
because it make more sense.
yeah. So if you look at white non-Hispanic people in the general U.S. population, this is coming from a few different like census-based studies. It makes up about 58% of the population in 2023, as of 2023. So this is not super duper recent data, but pretty recent. Second largest group in that study is the Latino community, which makes up 20% of the population. And the third largest would be Black or African American, making up 13% of the population.
Okay.
So we're not insanely far off in our demographics compared to the U.S. population or compared to that Pew study about evangelical Pentecostals. But we are still relatively shockingly white.
Yeah.
So I think the next question somebody would have is like, well, is this a problem? And the answer to that is no, except that I think one of the key issues with this is that for some of our smaller racial demographic categories, overwhelmingly when I talk to people about their preference for dating someone of a specific race or ethnicity, I have a lot of people who say they don't have any preferences.
Yeah.
But if someone does have a preference, most of the time it is for their own community.
Yeah.
And there are lots of very valid reasons for that, you know, being like intercultural understanding,
Yeah.
you know, where they live, wanting to make sure anyone is comfortable in this family that they're a part of, all kinds of different reasons. But if people have a preference, it's usually to date within their community of origin. The one exception for that has been folks in our African American demographic, where first of all, the vast majority of our Black respondents have been female. We only have, I'm pretty sure we have five men who have come through the pipeline who are Black.
Yeah.
And within that group, not all of them have preferred to date within their ethnic community.
Yeah.
And I have thoughts on that I am not an expert enough on this to really speak to. But that being said, that is a key point of challenge to me and something that I'm motivated to try to find an answer around, right? It's interesting that our second largest demographic has relatively little opportunity to date members of their own ethnic community within Synchrony.
Yeah.
And I would say compared to like a Caucasian respondent, they also have relatively little opportunity to date outside of it as well, right?
Yeah.
Most people express preference for their own community. And so that's something that I want people to really think critically about and kind of challenge in themselves. But I'm also hoping to have a conversation with some folks who have more insight into that.
Yeah. That we want to have people on the podcast.
Mm-hmm. As a teaser, that trend of African American women effectively being left out of the dating conversation is not a problem that's exclusive to Apostolic Pentecostals.
Yeah.
That is a cultural problem in the United States. Oh, excuse you,
There.
ma'am. Sorry, our dog, if you're listening, our dog just decided that she was no longer happy in the position that she was in.
And donut.
by all means, make yourself comfortable. So we'll have more to say about that when we've collected some more data and have some better voices.
Yeah. We are not experts in that field.
Nope.
We have opinions, but not experience. So
No, but it is a conversation that I want to have
yeah,
on the podcast.
absolutely.
Because I think that we have an incredible, incredible community of beautiful, strong, kingdom-minded Black women who deserve the opportunity to create a home and family.
Yeah.
And right now, I don't feel like we're effectively addressing that yet. That's my hope, is to close that gap.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, we got one category left.
All right.
Age and gender.
Age and gender.
This is the hot button issue that people always want to know about, right?
Yeah. I think what's funny, it goes both ways. The younger generation has asked us, like, oh, who's in here? Is it just a bunch of old people? And then the older generation is like, oh, this is for them young bucks. Like I don't think that this is going to be for me. And we're like, no. We have every age and gender here, so it's awesome. And I think it's trying to break the stigma of it being a dating app, which is what people automatically assume.
Yeah.
And we're not.
We're not a dating app. I think the number one question I get in terms of people emailing or messaging me with questions is, what's the male to female ratio?
Yep.
Right. And my answer to that always kind of, I don't want to say it varies, but my answer to that is that the ratio doesn't matter as much as the speed at which different people move in and out of the pipeline.
Yeah.
Right? Men tend to move through the pipeline much faster because we started out with way more women than men in the very beginning. We had a wave of early adopters when we first started Synchrony that were female.
Yep.
And, as men have come in, they find matches, they leave, right? But this data is about not exactly all the men who are currently available compared to all the women who are currently available. This is data from anyone who's ever given us a survey.
Yep.
Right. And I'm going to be transparent with some numbers here. And I don't want this to scare anybody off because, again, it doesn't reflect the current existing ratio of how many men are in the community compared to how many women are in there right now at this moment, and how frequently men or women are becoming available.
Yeah.
So that's my caveat. So the data across the board since we started taking survey data to now is that about 80% of our respondents have been female, 79% in particular, and 21% of our respondents have been male.
Yeah.
So again, we're kind of tracking at that 4-to-1 ratio of female to male. Now that's fluctuated at various points in the Synchrony process,
Yep.
right? We did our Operation 50-50 last summer, and we did see a wave of guys come in from that kind of adjusted that. But then we had more women coming into it at different times. So it's evened out across the last year and a half or so to look that way. But the more interesting component to me, because that's not going to be a surprise to anyone who has been with us for a long time, right? The more interesting component to me is this graph, and I'm going to see if I can show it to you. We'll put it up on the screen for everybody else. But take a look at this. So this is a bar chart, and the pink bars represent the number of female respondents. The blue bars represent the number of male respondents in each age category that we capture, right?
Yeah.
So what do you notice about these data?
There are certain age brackets where there's significantly more women than men.
Right. So the disparity between women and men isn't equal across the board because, the female population, it's not quite a bell curve, right? But what we have for our ladies is our highest grouping of women came in the 41 to 55 age range. We have, the largest overall, I would say, are women in their 30s. We broke this down into two separate chunks, right? Women in their early 30s, between the age of 30 and 35, are the second highest respondent category. women between the ages of uh, in their 20s, so 21 to 29 are the third, then the 36 to 40 range, and then the 56 plus range, right? Men do not reflect those same patterns.
No.
The highest group of men that we've had come in are guys in their 20s, which is really interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting.
Why do you think this? And we don't have a clear explanation for this, and correlation does not imply causation. So like we're not going to be able to prove, but do you have any theories about why our biggest male demographic would be guys in their 20s?
I mean, I have my theories. Um, the younger generation is less scared of online presence.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think they see a matchmaking service as an intimidation
Yeah.
because they have been taught that technology is a resource
Mm-hmm.
and not a crutch. And I think there's some generations that think matchmaking or dating apps are a hit on their character or who they are as a person.
Like they're not capable of finding
Yeah,
someone.
like it's making it less about their ability to provide and pursue, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas someone younger is like, no, we use technology for everything. This just makes sense.
Yeah.
And like, and I can, and that again, this is a general Steven opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what I think.
I think that makes sense too. I think also that we tend to see younger men on Instagram.
Yeah.
Compared to like, so we did most of our early outreach on Instagram, some on Facebook. Mostly because Instagram was the app that I hated less. Still do.
Well, and Facebook is less catered to it.
I think so too. I think Instagram is it's just easier for people to get a hold of. I think our younger guys are more active on that particular platform compared to something like Facebook. But, you know, I don't know. I think that there's probably other cultural explanations for it too. And it gives me hope that younger guys are seeing something like this as an innovative solution to the challenges that they've experienced in dating.
Yeah.
So not a bad thing, but
yeah, I think the word used, like, I think the younger generation sees it as a tool.
yes.
And I can see other generations seeing it as a crutch.
Yeah, I think that's a really good way to frame it. However, even though that's an exciting trend to point out, the really unfortunate part of this is that women in their early 40s to mid 50s are kind of being left out of the conversation in the sense that that is our largest single female respondent category, right? And sorry, quick caveat. You'll notice if you look at these that like there's not the same number of years in each category that we ask people to respond to in the survey, right? So it's like people in their 20s, people in their early 30s, people in their late 30s, people in their 40s to mid 50s,
Yeah.
people 60 plus. So the reason for that, the reason why they're not even brackets is because what we're trying to capture is stage of life.
Yeah.
And there's a very different, like when you're in your 20s, we can consider your young professional, maybe a student, right? Early 30s versus late 30s can be very, very different in terms of the stage of life that you're in, your outlook on family building and parenting.
Yeah.
It can just be very different. That 40s to mid 50s, people tend to be more in line with each other than they would be between late 30s and early 30s.
Yeah.
So the reason why it looks that way is because...
Well, and early 50s versus late 50s is even two very different times of life.
Yeah, so we have late 50s broken out kind of as its own thing. So caveat what I'm saying about numbers with in terms of like large versus small demographics with knowing that like we're talking about different brackets. Think about them as people in those stages of life, right? We have the most people in that 40s to mid 50s stage of life that are women, right? And third to last that are men, right? So we have a huge disparity in that category where we have a lot of women and not as many men. Just to give you a sense, I broke this down a little further with percentages. So men in their 40s to mid 50s um, make up 14% of that category, right? Compared to the percentage of people in their 20s, they're 32% of that group.
Yeah.
So almost double, right? 15% of the early 30s group, 23% of the later 30s group, and then 15% of the 56 plus group. So it is a pretty dramatic departure from, what we're seeing in our female category.
Yeah.
So how do we fix that? Let me rephrase that. What are we doing to fix that?
Well, it's not as simple as like putting more commercial time on the TV or on YouTube, because we can't just advertise to specific people on places where a lot of people watch, right? So
Yeah.
social media has been our main platform in word of mouth.
Mm-hmm.
So y'all that share it, we really appreciate you guys, because that's really our only way of getting out to people other than in-person interactions, which as of right now, you work a full-time job and only have so much PTO. And yeah, sure, I'm a stay-at-home dad, but again, like, we have to go strictly based off of your PTO.
Yeah.
So until we can do this full time, we're kind of limited on the in-person interactions right now.
Yeah, but I think you made a really good point, which is that the right way to address this is to sort of go where the men are.
Yeah.
And my theory has been, and this is kind of similar to the theories you were spinning about why the younger generation does certain things. My theory is that men in their 40s to mid 50s are not using social media to the same extent that some of their peer groups are.
Yep.
Um,
They are using it, but for
Mhm.
a very different reason.
Right. So yeah,
Like, if I would be using it just for Facebook, or sorry, just for Facebook Marketplace. Like,
yeah.
maybe we should put ads on Facebook Marketplace. There it is.
That starts to look like we'll probably edit that part out. Let's not risk it. So let's just say that hypothetically we don't have a lot of men in that age group that are on social media.
Yep.
Right. I think the next best place we can go is to put someone who knows them, put our information in their hands.
Yeah.
Which is one thing that we're hoping to accomplish with the From Singles to Shepherds survey.
Yep. Which I think we're about 450 at this point.
Yeah, we're getting close to the halfway point of the numbers we want. So if you don't know what this is, we have an episode about it a couple episodes back, but the From Singles to Shepherds survey is a survey that we're putting together to help deliver an understanding of the experience of singles and the impact of loneliness to our pastors. And we want them to have that as a tool in their toolkit. We want them to be aware of what the single experience is like. It's also going to be a way for us to just get in front of our pastors and leaders.
Yep.
And the reason why we think that's so important is because the men that we do have, the group of men that we do have in their early 40s, a lot of them have come to us through recommendations from either other men or their ministry.
Yep.
And so it's really important to us that our pastors and our leaders understand that we're there as a resource to their saints. So once we have that body of data collected for that survey, we'll be sending it out to a list of about 1,000 pastoral contacts that we have. And that's going to be something that we hopefully can use to get more guys in that demographic category. Okay, but we're doing something else to help address this problem a little bit more immediately.
Okay.
So we're going to give away some consultations.
Yes, we are.
Yeah. So if you are a man in your 40s to mid 50s, so between the ages of 41 and 55, or 40 and 55, that's fine too.
Yeah.
Right?
And if you're like a year younger or a year older, depending on how flooded we get, we might squeeze you in.
Please, Lord, let there be a flood.
That's right.
So if you are in that age bracket and you are apostolic, truly apostolic, meaning that you've received the Holy Ghost with the evidence of tongues, you've been baptized in Jesus' name, you currently attend a Oneness Apostolic Church regularly and are a tithe-paying member.
Yeah, you meet all of our criteria.
Right. Been single for at least a year. You can send an email to questions@synchronyproject.com to say that you would like to have a free consultation and that you fit that age category. The first 5 men to email me will get a free consultation.
Can I change that number?
Sure.
Can we do 10?
Sure.
Let's do 10.
Okay. So the first 10 men to email us in that age category can have a free consultation.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
We really want the women in that category to have more access.
Yeah.
It's
so
important.
I don't want to undermine people who have paid money for their consultations.
Yeah.
But we have a gap of women who have been waiting for a while.
Yeah.
That we want, that we see has a hard market to get to for the men on social media. Like it's we're not having good marketing strategies that are available to us to get straight to them right now.
Right.
And so we want to try to target them as best as possible.
Yep.
And I think cheap or free is a good way of doing it. So we're going to try this out and see how it goes.
Yeah. So if you know or love a single man in their early 40s to mid 50s, you should text them or call them right now and tell them to email us quickly.
Yep.
We're only going to take the first 10, and we'll try to get those guys into our pipeline as quickly as possible so that we can provide some more matches for the ladies in that category.
Yep.
But 10 guys would make a good dent in that demographic gap. So we have more data that we could sort of dig into, but those are the 3 insights from this pool that I thought were the most interesting. So we have our map distribution across the U.S. We have our racial demographic breakdown, and we have our age and gender breakdown.
Yep.
And we will make those charts and such available in the show notes. But yeah, what do you of those? What is the insight that you think is the most interesting or compelling?
I would like to start balancing out the racial one.
Yeah, me too.
And from different angles though, and for different reasons. But I would love to start seeing that racial one balance out. But 2, just for pure fascination, I love the the geographic one.
Oh yeah, it's just cool to see.
I want to see the map filled out, and I want to see other countries start filling. I love seeing this is a tangent. We can cut it out if we need to. I used to play a game on my phone whenever I was in college, where it was it's probably not good to talk about after COVID, but it was literally like an infection game. Your goal was to infect different areas.
This was pre-pandemic.
Yeah, pre-COVID.
It's now terribly insensitive. You know, the pandemic was 5 years ago.
I know, it's crazy.
It blows my mind. Anyway, go ahead.
So basically what it was is your goal was to try to mutate an infection and spread it as far as possible. And the goal was to kill the planet. But that being said, I like seeing the spread of the numbers. And for this is a very positive reason. Very positive reason. I want to see.
It got so dark so fast.
I know. This is what happens when I'm tired. So, anyways, I want to see the map filled. I want to see all the maps filled.
I feel like we could have said that without going into the weird
you love me,
evil genius.
This is the version of me that you got. I'm sorry.
No, I think I get it. It's fine. So I bet the makers of that game were like, ouch. After
I think the game's called Pandemic or something like that.
Oh no. It's a bummer.
Yeah.
It was either really, really good marketing or really terrible marketing.
It happened 5 or 10 years before COVID, so
wild. It was the canary in the coal mine that we all should have been paying attention to, maybe.
That's right.
Cool. Well, I'm excited about this. If you have questions about the data or you want to know more, you can also send those questions to questions@synchronyproject.com and we'll take a look. But otherwise, what else do we have going on right now, babe, that we haven't talked about? Anything?
Well, we just finished our sale.
Woo! That was fun.
Yeah. We got a good response from that, and we're really excited about that.
Yeah. Hence all the consultations this week.
Yeah.
We've got the From Singles to Shepherd survey. That link is in the description too. So if you are Apostolic and Single and you have not yet filled that out, please don't fill it out twice. That's not helpful. But if you have not yet filled it out, you can go do that. And we really need every single person to respond to that.
And if you are married or in a relationship and listening to this, please send it to your single friends.
Yep. Share it on social media. Put it on your Facebook page. You can go on our social media and find links and posts that have the link in them, especially if you're on Facebook, because that's where a lot of the Apostolic Facebook groups are.
Yep.
Quick plug. Can I do a plug?
Sure. I don't know what you're plugging.
I have 2 plugs.
Okay.
If you are the leader of or an admin for an Apostolic Facebook group or a singles ministry leader, and you are involved in things like virtual events on Facebook, or you're involved in things like in-person singles events where you're putting together registration packets, etc., we would love to chat with you and provide your ministry with some resources.
Yep.
And we don't plan to charge money for that necessarily, but we'd love to put sync pens in your hands.
Yep.
If you don't have a Synchrony pen, that is the cool little pen that we made that you can wear as a subtle indicator that you are interested when you're at conferences.
Yeah. If you are running a singles conference of some sort, we will pay the shipping and send y'all a batch of pens if you guys want to distribute them in goodie bags or however you want to do it. We want to get these sync pens out to as many people as possible.
Yeah. The more singles who have the option of wearing them, the better, and the more they become a symbol of what we're trying to do. So let us know about that. We've been invited to talk at a couple of Facebook event meetings, which has been really cool. So if you are involved in a singles Facebook group and you think that we would be helpful speakers or that we could contribute anything, we'd love to. Cool. Okay. Anything else we need to plug?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Hey.
Thank
you for working so hard.
Thank you for making it possible for me to work so hard on this.
I know I am watching the kids a lot, but you're also in this office literally the whole day from the time you wake up till we're done podcasting at 12:45 at night.
Yeah.
And it happens more often than not.
Yeah. I feel blessed to get to do it.
Yeah.
I'm tired.
It would be nice. It will be nice when we can do it on a regular schedule.
There is certainly enough work to be done here that it could be someone's full-time job.
Yep.
So yeah, I think there's, I'm hopeful that one day we'll be able to put even more time than we are now into it.
In Jesus' name.
In Jesus' name. But in the meantime, thank you for helping me do all the things.
Yeah, my pleasure. I love you.
I love you too.
On that note, y'all have a great night, and we will see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.